It's there! Holy moly, this one's gonna go big!
Hello and welcome back to the channel. So then, win series on Indiana Jones. Let's get that bastard nailed. Live on camera, we are going to get the win series feature on Indiana Jones. As I was talking about in the previous video, has anyone ever had it? The answer appears to be no. Now don't worry, load of weird shit has just appeared on your screen there. You don't have to worry too much about this. Straight away, I am going to go through exactly what's going on here after we've got the win series. As the old saying goes, show don't tell. So we'll get win series first, and then I will go through exactly what has happened to make it possible. So don't worry, all this gobbledygook that you can see on screen here, do not worry about it. We are going to go through that, and I'll explain exactly what I've done. And also, if you want to repeat it for yourself in the emulator, you will be able to. So let's just do that. As you can, there is some fuckery going on here. But I should state for the record that the emulator here, this is in real play. It's not in door open mode or demo mode or anything like this. This is in normal kind of door closed play. As far as the machine is concerned, nothing unusual is going on here. It hasn't got a clue that we're kind of rummaging around in its innards, shall we say. Should survive that one, yeah. Now, you see there, we're up to £5 and nudge time. Now, this next one, in fairness, I'd say this is 50-50. This might kill us, it might not. We've got away with it, that's good. So you can see there, we have now got lights, which I think you will never see playing this machine. £6 and win series are now activated. And all we need to do, of course, is land on Staff of Ra, and then we can collect those apparently unattainable prizes of £6 and win series. So first thing, now you're going to see a slightly unusual move here, because we are on that square there. Watch what happens now. If you add that up, that was 13. So there's clearly some fishy stuff going on here. But you can see that we now have £6 is available to collect, and if we can land on the next Staff of Ra square, of course, we will be able to collect Staff of Ra, and there it is. This is the thing which, by all accounts, nobody has ever seen on a real Indiana Jones machine. The ability to collect win series on the Staff of Ra feature square. I talked in the previous video about how it seems to be unobtainable, completely unobtainable, and that's been corroborated by everyone who's ever replied to the thread, left a comment on the videos on the channel. Nobody ever had win series. Well, here it is, live on camera, win series off the Staff of Ra. And it's just a simple yes-no repeat, so we've got a quid off it. We've got 2 quid off it. This is better be a jackpot feature. There we are. What's it going to go to now? So we got £3.60 up to now. after 25 years of waiting to see it, win series went for £3.60. Now, in fairness, it can do better than that. Okay, shall we see if he can do better than £3.60? We've got it set up again. I just now need to get a 6 to get onto the Staff of Ra, so we will do that. Let's give win series a chance to redeem itself here and see if it can do better than bloody £3.60. So there's a quid. That's £2.60. Come on, Indy. What are we going to get now? Oh, okay, so we're up to £4.60. Is it going to break through a jackpot? No, it isn't. You can get, the truth of the matter is, you can get some pretty pathetic amounts off that. We'll get one more before the end of the video. So what I'm going to do now is explain to you what I've done, because as you can see from this sort of debug window that's open in front of me, we have got some shenanigans going on to make this happen. So, first thing I want to say here is that this is all down to Mort. Mort has done all of the spade work on this one. He posted over at Desert Island Fruits, following on from the previous video. There's a long running thread over at Desert Island Fruits called YouTube Emulation Extravaganza, where I post links to my new Fruit Machine emulation videos, and we often get a decent conversation going on about them. If you do want to get engaged with conversation about the videos and the machines, I would honestly say that registering over at Desert Island Fruits is the best thing to do, because we do get involved in some decent conversations over there. But Mort basically ran with the problem, if you will, from the previous video. Is it possible to get Win Series on Indiana Jones? And he set about using a feature in the emulator to make that happen. So Mort himself here says, like I said, I'm taking no credit for this. I'm just kind of reporting it. I've recreated what Mort did. He put here, you can see that he put an unlisted video on YouTube, which I watched, and I am recreating what he did. So basically what Mort's doing here, I'll let him say it in his own words. Here is a video showing a very basic use of the powerful and often overlooked feature in MFME, a complete machine debugger. So in this example, I use the emulator's ability to use write breakpoints, and then write, or invert, or poke is the technical term, to poke bytes in hexadecimal to a memory location where the machine stores the value attributed to the number reel. I use a write breakpoint on the number reel value, which means that when the game writes in the next value, the execution of the game code is then halted, which then allows me to intercept and overwrite or poke that value with an alternative. The game code is then resumed, and it will read this value that I have changed instead. In the case of Indy, I tried to find a nicer, more natural method than this, but I've spent far too much time on this already trying to hunt down the RAM locations for the gun code in particular, and just wanted to get this video out there. So what I do here is get on the board, set the write breakpoint, and then intercept it to move 2 places first to get the first bullet, and then intercept it again, but then to move 0 places each time and keep landing on the same gun square. I have done this a few times, and it will kill you before 5 bullets on occasion. This eventually fills up the feature to £6 in Win Series. Then I move around the board, intercepting values on the way to get to the square to collect Win Series. The Win Series result is shocking in this video, but I have had higher values in testing, around £12 to £15, with a jackpot spinning in on occasion. So there you are. Let's just go through that again with the emulator running in front of us, and I'll take you through step by step what Mort has explained he did there. So here we are with just the emulator running, and then what you'll have here, can you see up at the top here, you've got debug, mainboard and slaveboard. What we want here is to go into debug mainboard, and basically what we can see there is that you see there 68,000, that's actually the processor that the Impact Tech is based on. It's the Motorola 68,000. I have mentioned that processor in a previous video, the Barcrest MPU 4 plasma videos, Big Chief and that other low clickety-click, I think it was called. They used a 68,000 processor. It was very, very widely used in the right through all the way through the 1980s and into the 1990s. I think I said before, the Sega Mega Drive used it, the Amiga and the Atari ST used it, and so on. So that there, the 68,000 that you can see there, is basically the main processor that JPM used in their Impact technology. And what you can see there, kind of in essence, is what it is executing, the instructions that it is executing in real time, and the memory locations that they are happening in. So there's a whole load of stuff there. Now, I've got to be honest with you, I'm not a coder. I am kind of in IT, but I'm not a coder, so this is a little bit outside my comfort zone. So I'll try and get this right. But fundamentally, what we have set up here is, if you have a look here, this address here, this is in hexadecimal, by the way. So 401D6F is the hexadecimal RAM address that the machine uses to store the value on the number reel. So that 1 to 12 high-low reel there. And what we've done in the emulator, can you see this little box here? Enable write breakpoint. So what we do is we specify a memory location which is very, very close to the location where it stores the actual value on the high-low reel. So what happens is the split second, the microsecond that the machine or the emulator tries to access that address to write something to it, the emulation immediately halts before the emulator executes its next command. That's the kind of hang that you could see on the machine. So with the emulation halted, it's like the entire, obviously you could never do this on a real machine, so it's like the entire machine, all of its internal gubbins just stop instantaneously. And what we then do is we write the value that we want. Can you see in this little box here? We write the value that we want the machine to think the high-low reel has spun to. We press the write button to write that into the location in memory. We then press the run button to resume the emulation, and the machine just carries on to the next bit of its code, and it says, okay, so that's a number whatever. Whatever number we put in there, it then goes for, and it just obeys that. Now, and Mort did say in a follow-up post that you can put any number in there between 0 and 16. There's no error trapping. So what we were doing there to stay on the ambush square, I was writing a 0 into RAM, which is why we just landed on the ambush square time and time again. I also used it to move 13 spaces, which obviously is also impossible as well on the real machine. And then to make sure that we landed on the feature square, I put a 6 in there as well. So there's no error trapping in that regard, which kind of makes sense, because if you think about it, on the real machine, this is not something that the coders, the developers would have to worry about, because this is something that would be completely impossible on the real machine. Obviously, you'd have to have access to the internal gubbins in real time, and God knows what kind of elaborate hardware configure, kind of device, gizmo hacking device you'd have to have with you to recreate this on the real machine. And of course, you'd have to kid it into thinking that its doors were shut as well. So let's do it one more time, and I'll show you in real time, and I'll take you through step by step what's actually happening. So I've populated, this doesn't happen for you, by the way. This is all down, this is where Mort's work has come in. He has spent, I believe, many hours on this to try and go through the coding. This isn't written down anywhere. It's not in the manual or any shit like that. Mort really has done the spade work on this one. So, again, can't thank him enough, because this has been very, very interesting. So, those addresses there, they're the addresses that we want to write to. And that address there that you can see, that's where we've put the breakpoint in the emulator. So when the machine tries to do something at that memory address, the emulation will halt as long as that box is ticked, and then we can write in what we want. So let's just, first of all, we want to get on the board. I won't enable the write breakpoint at this point, because it could try to access that memory address, or it will rather, outside, because you can see there the high-low reel is spinning all the time, and we don't want it halting when we're just in the base game. We only want this halt thing to kick in once we get on the feature. Obviously, we want to get in with 3 hats, just because the game is playing normally. You've got to remember, the machine itself, the code itself, has no idea that we are fucking around with it. So the gun squares will behave normally. So that one there, for example, will get kill happy, and that one there in particular, that's going to kill you on 3 or 4 bullets. So we want to be using this ambush square right at the start of the board, because as far as the machine is concerned, it's just playing a normal game. It's got no idea, 25 years later, that it's being fucked around with like this. So there we are. We've got our hole to get on the board. So we get our 3 hats. So now I enable my breakpoint here. So you see there, enable write breakpoint at 401 D6C. So there we are. As soon as the machine tries to access that memory address, it's going to pause. So now I just press start on the board, and it's going to hang once that high-low reel comes to a stop. And that's it. And the sample will stop as well. So the machine now is completely in stasis. You can see there, all operations going through its main processor have stopped. We've absolutely frozen it in time. And we use this little, I can put whatever value I want in there between 0 and 16, although do be aware it's hexadecimal. So for example, 0D is 13 in hexadecimal. Obviously you can find a hex, I'll just put one on the screen as well. You can find hex lookup charts online. That's easy enough to find, but hexadecimal for 2 is actually 02. So what I do now is I write the value of 2 into that memory location. So even though the high-low reel has spun to a 6, when I press that, so I write a 2 into that memory location, I then press the run button, and now the machine goes to retrieve the high-low reel value, which is visibly showing a 6, but it's going to read a 2. And just watch this, I'm going to move 2 spaces. There you are. Now, to keep landing on the same gun square, we still have our right breakpoint enabled. So I just spin the height. Now, obviously, it can't stop on a 0. But what I'm going to change this value here to a 0. So that's 0, 0. We're going to press start. It's going to hang again. And now I'm going to write in a value of 0, which the machine, and 0 to 16, it will accept. Anything outside of that, it drops on its ass. But it considers 0 to 16 to be valid values, and that's just going to land me on the gun square again. We'll survive that one. Now we can do the same thing again. We don't need to change the value, we just want to repeat the 0. There we are. We write the value, and then we run the code again, and it keeps us on the ambush square. And then we can repeat once more. Again, so it's spun us to a 5, but we're going to write a 0. We're going to resume the emulation. That can have us, by the way. It can actually kill you on 4 and 5 bullets, that one. Let's just see if we can get away with the whole lot. So once again, final time, we're going to write a 0. We're going to resume the emulation. Hopefully we'll survive it. It might kill us. Oh! Shame, it did want to actually kill us there. So let's turn off let's turn off our right breakpoint. We'll resume the emulation. Not to worry, so we'll just do it one more time. Like I say, it's kind of, I would say it's about 50-50 whether or not you'll make it. Because it can kill you on 4 bullets or 5 bullets. It is interesting to see, by the way, that the first hat can kill you on 4 bullets. Doesn't happen very often, but it can. So we're back on the board, so same thing again. We're going to enable our right breakpoint, you can see there. We're going to put 2 in there. Got to remember to change that value. We're going to have a spin. We're going to write our 2. We're going to run. It's going to land us onto the 2. And then we press start again. Now remember to change that value there to a 0. Write it into the machine's RAM. The machine goes ahead, the code execution is resumed, and it just reads the 0 out of there. And we just do that again. We run it again. That one doesn't say, I haven't had it kill me on 3 bullets, but 4 or 5 bullets it can kill you on. Write it, run it. I'd feel slightly aggrieved if it kills us on 4 bullets, but it has done it. Right, I'll bring this one back when we're on 5 bullets again. Right, let's just pick it up on 4 bullets. Hopefully we'll survive it this time. So there we go, that's 4 bullets going into the chamber. We've survived that, so we just need to survive 1 more, and then we're on for the win series. So we'll write in another 0. Resume the emulation. Now we have to stop this, survive this one. Yes, we have. Right then, so now we've got our full gun. So you can actually put any value that you want in here by that. I mean, you could put a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, I could put a 6 in there and it will do 6. But if I want to do the move straight to the win series cache square, what I do is put 0D. Now 0D is the hex for 13. So I can just press start. It's going to, our breakpoint's in. So now I write 0D, that's hexadecimal 13, and then run, and it's, if you count the spaces from ambush to that cache square, it's 13, and it will actually do it. So there you are, that was 13, so we've got collect £6, then we just do we've still got our breakpoint enabled. It's Richter 3, we don't want that, so instead we're going to poke in a 6, we're going to write that into that portion of RAM, and then it's going to give us a 6, even though it's a 3. There we are. So let's give Win Series one more crack of the whip, shall we? Let's give it one more go. We had 2 shit ones up to now. So there's £2. This is something which I suspect nobody has ever seen before, is the Win Series, apart from the people who read the thread over at Desert Island Fruits already, and have since... Fucking hell! £4.60 again. It's not a great feature, is it? There is better in that in there. There are better ones in there, but it's not really playing for us, is it? So let's collect our £4.60 out. So I guess the question might be at this point is, well, that's all very well and good, Degsy, but what's the fucking point? Well, kind of Mort says that in the final sentence of his post here, which is to say, hope it makes sense. If anything, this goes to show another side of MFME, which is very true, but also this one here, this is the real critical point for me, also proves that the Indiana Jones game code at least supported the Win Series feature, i.e. it was not just a lamp on the glass, but alas, it doesn't look like it was ever possible to get it within normal play. And that is the critical point, and I think this is possibly what Mort was thinking about, and my kind of thinking was along the same lines, was the feature even there? Was it for, it was that they got the glasses printed, the vinyls printed, and it's in the instruction manual as well. If you have a look in the instruction manual, the feature is listed in there. But for whatever reason, as game development was coming to a close, there was a problem with the feature. It didn't award it properly, or it unbalanced something, or whatever. Or they just didn't have time to implement it. So the code has either just hard blocked it, or it wasn't in there. It was just like a dead end. So even though it was there, and it looks like it's something that you would be able to achieve, and as per the previous video, I talked about how it could do it with using the ambush and bouncing you back and emptying the gun. But is it just that the feature is simply not supported? It's basically a blank wall. There's nothing behind it. Well, the answer now is no. It's not just a blank wall. It is in the code. You can see there that the machine knows what to do with the whole thing. It knows that if you survive that many ambushes, that it will increment those values there, the cache and the features, by 1 for every single ambush that you collect. And if you survive 5 of them, it will make £6 and Win Series available. And then when you land on the cache, it will offer you £6 to collect. And if you land on the feature square, it will then offer you Win Series to collect. You saw there we had the code, the writing in the alphanumeric there, the text saying Win Series, and it knows what to do with it. It's a series of wins, yes, no, repeat, and then it carries on. So that tells us that the feature is in there. It is implemented, which does make it bizarre, doesn't it? That why is this feature in there? That by all accounts, it is completely impossible to get in normal gameplay. And moreover, as you've seen there, we had 3 shit ones there. We had a £3.60, £4.60 and a £4.60. There are better than that in there. Mort saying that the best he managed was 12 to 15 quid. So it's not like it's some kind of ultra rare feature that it had to really, really protect or something like that. But I already didn't think that was the case, because the amount of play that I put into this over the years, both real and emulated, left me fairly convinced that there was simply no way to get it when you were playing this machine. But we have proven there that at least it exists and it's in the code and it knows what to do with it. Maybe a slight suspicion on Mort's part that the machine would just drop on its ass if you tried to collect it. Certainly that has happened in other sort of emulation fields over the years. This is the first time I've seen anything done like this in Fruit Machine emulation, but I don't think we've ever tried to do anything like this before. But Certainly in, I think, video game emulation and other kind of emulation scenes whereby many years after the fact you can use an emulator to make something that happens, make something happen that could never happen on the, or that nobody'd ever seen on the real machine, and the thing just drops on its ass, it just crashes or it just goes into some kind of error state because it was never designed to happen. There was never any code to support that feature or the functionality. Whereas we've seen very clearly in the case of Indiana Jones that it is in there and the machine knows what to do with it. And it does make me wonder if the coders had intended to put something in there for it, but they just never got round to it, or they forgot, or they couldn't be bothered, or something like that, because there's a slightly similar thing on this old Barcrest MPU4 machine called Rocket Money. So what we'll do here, I know this looks like a little bit of a jump, but I do know where I'm going with it. So what I'm going to do here is get a feature on this, and I'll talk you through what it is I'm waffling on about now. Absolutely fantastic sample pack on this. Can we land on nudges here and get the bloody nudge sample? Yes. Do like the sound on there. What have we got there? If we do a nudge buster down, oh, that's not going to get us on. We're getting close. It's like a feature before a feature, this. I think Barcrest intended this to be like almost like feels like a feature when you're not on the feature. It doesn't. It's just profoundly frustrating. Right, so we've got the going steps of 5. So if we can get a 10 there, that'll put me up to the next bangy bonus thing. Oh God, come on, put me in. God, it used to. I'm going off topic here. Fuck me, this machine used to drive me mad. Just getting on the board, and there's nothing we can actually nudge in there, is there? It has held, so it's going to give us nudges again, but it could... Let's try. It might actually give us... Nice one. Give us one nudge. That was a little bit optimistic. Right, there we are. Come on. Put me into the... Right, there we are. One number. That's got to be in now, surely. That's got to put me in. Right, we're in. Right, the thing that we're actually looking at here now is these win streak things. Now, you have to land on the streak squares on the board to advance the streaks, but you might see a slight problem here because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you need a 6th one to land, because Rocket Money is actually a streak in itself. You start with none, and you've got to land on 6 streak squares to get all the way to the top, and if you count up the streak squares on the board, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are just about the right number. So there's the first one that we've landed on, for example. There's the second one. There's the third one, but you can see the problem now. It's now impossible for me to land on any more, but we have got the jackpot. Right, it's completely actual getting the jackpot on the sound of the jackpot sequence there is completely irrelevant. So the point, what I'm actually getting at here with this is how difficult it is to get the top streak feature. And when I used to play this for real, it used to drive me absolutely fucking insane, this machine. It really did. Let's just collect our back. Oh, we could have had a win there. Doesn't matter. That's not really what we're here for. So let's collect our £8 token jackpot. I think it was a native £8 machine, this. I think this might have come out on an £8 jackpot. Not a great many machines did. Could be wrong, but anyway. The point is, when I used to play this for real, it drove me crackers that, because I could never ever see how the fucking hell were you going to land on all of those streak squares, because you only need to miss one of them and then you can't really do it. These jumping jack squares, like yellow goes to yellow, blue goes to blue, and red goes to red, but a little bit like the kind of the gun, emptying the gun and going backwards and forwards on the board on Indiana Jones, it just never seemed to happen. And there was a few of these in pubs around here, and as you know, I was massively into my fruit machines back then, so I played it quite a lot, and I never ever managed to get to the top streak, and it got me wondering, is it even possible to do it? Does it exist on the machine? Well, it turns out that it does, because when this was first emulated, and this was around fairly early on in emulation, because it's a Barcrest MPU4 machine, That was one of the first kind of techs that was properly emulated. So the first thing that I did when I got my hands on this emulated was set about trying to get the top Rocket Money streak. And it turns out that it does award it. It can award it. And the way it does it is with a very specific board that comes around fairly rarely. And you will know it when you get it because it makes it super obvious. It will either land on every single streak square all the way, all 6 of them, because you can see you've got to land on all 6 to do it. Or if you go past one, what it will then do is it will deliberately use the jumping jack squares to put you back. So you can see there, that blue jumping jack will put you back to there, and that yellow jumping jack will put you all the way back to there. But basically, it will make sure that you land on enough of those streak squares to get the top Rocket Money streak, which doesn't even always go that big, but that's kind of the only way it happens. It only happens on that board when it comes round, which Barcrest coders clearly put in there as a way to get that top feature. If you haven't played this machine much in the emulator, you may not have seen it, but I really kicked it around as soon as I got my hands on it emulated to try and work out how you get the top Rocket Money streak. And you'll know it. When the board comes round, you will know it, because you can hardly miss it, to be honest, because short of actually collecting one of the other streaks, you can't miss it, because the machine really does do its best to make sure that it just lands on them all, uses the jumping jacks to move you around, and then fills them all up to the top Rocket Money streak, which incidentally auto collects when it happens. So unless you collect one of the earlier streaks, you can't fuck it up. So I kind of wonder if the same kind of thing was supposed to have been in Indiana Jones, where they were kind of intending to put in maybe a win series board where it does something like that, as talked about in the previous video. Fills up, gives you a couple there, empties your gun, lands on the next one, maybe empties your gun again, and then make sure that you hit the Staff of Ra square there, or gives you a Staff of Ra off a mystery, something like that, just to make sure that you get the win series or the £6 once in a while. It's not in there. I think we can say with a high degree of confidence, based on the collective observations of people on Fruit Machine emulation over the years, where nobody says they have ever had this feature. But we have established in this video that it is there and it is in the code. And just as another example of some of the nonsense that you can get up to, if we just get back on the board here, you can see you can get it to do all kinds of crazy things. So if we put our breakpoint in again of the same memory address and then get it to hang, the highest value that we can put in is a hexadecimal 0F, which is equivalent to 15 in decimal. And that's because your range is 16 numbers. You can go from 0 to 15. So you can do some pretty crazy moves there, and it will trap it again, and we'll get it to roll another 15 for us. And then if we do that one more time, of course, we will get the... So I'm going to write that in again. It's just going to fling us straight up to the Ark of the Covenant, and there you go. I guess the other thing to test, and what I may go ahead and do with this, is based on that there. Well, I guess it's always going to give you a board for 15 quid, isn't it? Because you can guarantee, by doing that, you can basically guarantee that you get a jackpot every... Well, obviously, if you land on any square that you want to, you're always going to... But you can guarantee that you get to the Ark of the Covenant every single board. I wonder if it would start costing more than 6 quid for a board. I wonder if that would happen. If you pushed it really, really over percentage, if it'd start wanting more than 6 quid for a board. And that's obviously the other... This has opened up all kinds of possibilities here. The only trouble, I think, is the amount of time that goes into finding these memory locations. And of course, that's all down to Mort there. One other thing that he's got there he did find one other RAM location of interest, which is 4007F1, which is where the game records the active location on the board. So what you can do there, you can see there, you can move to whichever square you want on the board, forwards or backwards at any time. So that's another follow-on post in that thread, the YouTube emulation extravaganza thread over at Desert Island Fruits. I won't want to go into that one here because I was just specifically wanting to cover the fact that you can get win series, but Mort has been messing around with that a little bit more over at Desert Island Fruit, so you can have a play around with that one as well. But as ever, I do want to say thank you to Mort as well, because this video only exists because of the work that he did in the first instance. So there you go, folks. Win series is in there. You can get it. It is a feature, but for whatever reason, by accident or design, whoever coded this didn't put in the ability to achieve it in normal play. I guess we're not going to find out any more about this now, short of somebody who kind of knows, who was there at the time, who was coding this or knew what was going on or something like that. I kind of think that's the only way we're going to get any more information now and completely solve the mystery of, is there supposed to be a way to get that in normal play? I don't think it does it like Rocket Money does, where it's got an obvious specific coded in feature that awards it. It just seems to be there, it works, but you can't get it short of doing shenanigans like we were up to there with the emulator's debugger. Anyway, that's probably enough for this one. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch up with you next time. But for now, it is goodbye.